So, yeah, we'll talk about bug shields tools. Yeah, this is the agenda. And bug shields, it was an important point I wanted to show you. So we are not talking about bug shield for cars. No, we're talking for software development, of course. So just be reassured for that. Come on, yeah. If some of you went in this room before, we were talking about agile development, and a very important part is TDD, test-driven development, and it's your first shield. It's the first way to protect you from injecting some bugs in your software. So of course, if you started to make your test even before writing your code, if something goes wrong, the test is here to tell it to you. TDR, it's more for bugs at the behavioral level. You expect something from the software, and yeah, it's not a programmation bug, but it doesn't behave as you wanted. So it's good to also think about test-driven requirements, saying, okay, if I do this kind of action, here is the result I expect from that. And pair programming, it's very interesting part of extreme programming, so an agile method, because you are two developers working on the same machine, or you might be working remotely on the same code, and it means that there is one guy coding while the other is watching, and after some few minutes you change the role. So this way there is always someone looking at the code and telling you if you're going to do something wrong, and you still have fresh brain because you're not always writing, you're not always thinking, so you change the role. So it's not something that will cost you at the time of the developer, because you really gain experience for the developer, because they share experience, they learn from each other. If one has some injuries can come to maintain the code, the other one will know the code, so you will be able to maintain it and to debug it. So it's really a very efficient way to have maintainable code, and yeah, you will win some money, I think, in the end. Test. So yeah, there is a lot of useful tools, so just to mention some of them, and learning from them is very interesting to prevent the bug even before they come out. And just to inform you, there will be tomorrow a session about Testacular, a framework for testing, so it's another test. I didn't mention it, but it's still interesting. It's made from Vojta Gina from Google, and it's a smart guy, and it's a smart tool. So we mentioned also that Wakanday is doing a lot of tests, so if you want to have a look, you can just see how Wakanday is going. Version control, another way to prevent kind of nightmares is saying, okay, something goes wrong, but I can roll back very easily. So first, before even trying to debug, you should have this kind of rollback potentiality. Even with Time Machine or Dropbox, they provide you some versioning. So even with these very simple tools, you can go back and have a working version. If you have the time to learn about other version control products, so there is many ones, and we try to implement Git natively in Wakanday because yeah, it's a very widely used one for open source project in JavaScript mainly. And just a little thing to mention, I love to say that JavaScript is the main language in a person's project on GitHub. So just because I love JavaScript. So tools, yeah, we'll try to work a little, you know, we're becoming sleepy. So just to know, there is a lot of browser extension to help you debugging for the front end. So Firebug is kind of very classical. In the old days, any web developers had Firefox at least to use Firebug to debug the app. It didn't mean that once it was debugged with Firebug, it would work everywhere. But at least it was a very good tool to parse, to make the steps in the JavaScript and so on. Now you have other very powerful debuggers I will mention after. JSON view is very good when you're doing when you're using some REST API, providing some JSON. So this way you can check the JSON and see it in a meaningful way, because usually a real JSON response is on one line. There is no line ending. So having it, you need to have it. You should all have it. So a JSON view, it exists for Chrome or I think for Safari also, and Fire. Yeah, most debuggers have a JSON view extension. And what is interesting, not in all of them, but at least some of them have links directly. When a JSON value is a valid URL, it automatically provides you a link to click on it, and so you can navigate around several JSON responses. So very useful. So REST client, an extension to generate REST requests. So not only get requests, but also post requests or put, delete, or custom methods, and writing yourself what the content you want to send. So very nice. Ripple emulator, it's from BlackBerry. Very interesting because it allows you to, without having a real emulator from the browser, you can simulate a phone or a tablet, and not only you simulate the view, but also you can set, for example, the geographic position, or if you are on the orientation and several things like that. So still using only the browser. So I really recommend it. And yeah, there is other tools like Web Developer. I don't use it anymore, but still. And ChangeHost, it can be interesting sometime to have some tests, for example, for cross-origin requests or things like that. And yeah, ChangeHost also because when you're developing on your own machine or on a test machine, you won't have most of the time the same domain name than the one you have in production. So with such tool, you can manage your host files, and on your own computer, even being offline, you can simulate requests to the production like URLs. So you will have a very more related behavior. So browser debuggers. So we talked about Firebug, but Firefox now start to provide its own native debugger. It's more, for the moment, it's only for the DOM inspection most of the time. You don't have yet a real JavaScript debugger. You have some console or some little things like that. Just to play a little, let's go to Firebug. Let's go to a page. Yeah, Twitter, just Twitter. If I ask inspect element, it will be the default new Firefox debugger. And if you have installed Firebug, you will have to choose inspect element with Firebug. So I just go to inspect element, and you will see something very funny. So you can inspect, navigate into the DOM, so all the HTML. But something very funny is you can see all the DOM nodes and all the architecture of your HTML page. So it can be useful sometime, but it's also very funny. Sorry. So let's go back and being serious. Up. So I will give you a very short overview of all of them, so you can see how it looks like. So in first place, the WebKit project, there was Web Inspector, and it is the one we were either in Safari and Chrome, who came after you integrating WebKit. What you might need to know is that the WebKit Web Inspector is mostly developed by the Chrome team. So it's mainly Google who maintains this debugger. And I think it might be the reason why Safari no change and said, oh, we want our own debugger. Okay. So now we have a Safari debugger. Welcome. So yeah, it's not that bad, but most of the time you won't find the same element in the same place, so you have to learn how to use it. Opera Dragonfly is also a bit young, but it comes to become more mature now. And yeah, the last one, sorry. So still, if you want to make a cross-platform web application, you will need to have your code working in Internet Explorer. Hopefully, from IE 9 and now IE 10, it starts to be a really standard compliant navigator. We have to say that. But yet, if you don't have Visual Studio installed, I wish you a lot of luck to debug, because the native script debugger is not very friendly, and that's why most of the time we spend more time in the other ones. In the Wakanday team, we mainly use Web Inspector and sometimes Firebug, because Firebug is here from a long time and has still some very interesting features. So the only interest there, Visual Studio is kind of long time running debugger, but it might be not yet the most adapted debugger for JavaScript. So yeah, they have a big team at Microsoft, so they are doing some good jobs, but still. So debugger features. Now we saw there is a lot of products. We'll try to start to using. So in all of those debuggers, you will see some different panels to manage the HTML parts, the CSS, JavaScript, yeah, images, yeah, the resources and things like that. So just to have a little look, let's go to Web Inspector. So I did a very simple page with just a text and a little code. So here you have elements. It's where you will find all your DOM, all the HTML you have in the navigator. So you can deploy, play with it. And something interesting is that in this debugger tool, you see you can move here. You have some highlighting. You'll see also the matrix, and you have here a tool to just say I want this one, and I see it in the code. And if you go to the code, you can double click and play and edit. So what's funny now is that some developers are not using any other tools than Web Inspector to even build the content. Not only debug, but even build the content and edit it. Because sometimes you can just, for example, copy and paste some elements and so on. So yeah, I would not say you should use that to make your development, but still it's very handy because you have direct representation of your updates. So on the right side you see all the CSS styles applied to the DOM element. An important part is the computed style. So it's not rules as they are defined in the code, it's the rules that are currently effective on the DOM element. So they say, oh, it is represented after all the rules have been applied. And you can go under and see from this file or this file, this rule have been applied. If this one is not working, most of the time it's because it has been overridden by another one. And here again, you can play and say, for example, oh, yep, and you have some auto-completion and so on. So yeah, it's useful. But yet, we are not yet playing with the JavaScript. So we saw some HTML, some CSS. Let's go there. here's the resources. So what is interesting, it's quite recent. You now have the ability to see information stored in WebSQL and XDB, local storage, sessions, cookies, all of them. Check their values, edit them. So it's very interesting. Application cache is when you are doing some offline applications. Local storage, I have some few values. And here there is some few images in the cache and something like that. Let's go to network. Here you will see all the HTTP requests which have been made to see only play. Oh, you should not have all those files. It's just because it's a page generated with an integrated framework. So even to just say play, the framework is loaded with many features. So what's interesting here, it's when you will have issue with performances, you will be able to see which requests required a lot of time before rendering. So that's another topic. I recommend you to see some sessions about web performances in which this kind of thing is very important. Here comes the sources. So if I come back to network here, and I have some filters, and like I say, I just want the scripts. Here I go, so test.js, I see all the responses and the content. So this is what the server sent back. But if I go to HTML, for example, or document, then documents, this is what the server sent to me. But if I come to element, this is the current version of the HTML, while it has been potentially dynamically modified by the JavaScript. So because it's just a text widgets, it's very similar to the native version. But if you have some data grid or some rich widgets, it will be very, very different from what you had from the source code initially. So the other ones, console is very important. I will talk a little bit about that after. Let's go back a little. So we saw the DOM inspector. So we made the difference between the DOM and the source code, which is important. We saw the highlights. We can edit tags on only attributes, and we will play a little with some. May not have the time to cover everything, but in some debuggers you can even have for a DOM node the list of event listener applied to this DOM node, which is very useful too. CSS inspector, we saw it. So the console. I like very much the console. Most of the time people think, okay, I have some console log and I will see some messages here. And what is interesting in the console is that you also have a line command line. So you can play with that and say, okay, 2 plus 4, I have a result. You can write any JavaScript expression and I have a result. I think, a little tip about console is often people say, okay, we'll make a log because I want to say let's say we applied that to E. Okay. So you have auto completion, of course, because it's a very powerful tool, and E equal 2 plus E. Okay. Sorry, what did I do wrong? Oh, .log. Sorry. .log. Okay, I have a message showing me, so it could be anywhere in my JavaScript code, and it tells me at this state I had the value E equal to 6. Okay, but let's say I have a more complex value, for example, very interesting. Object. How could it be helpful for me? It is absolutely not helpful for me. What could I do with that? So what you really need to know is that instead of doing concatenations, you can send separate parameters to the log method. And then you have something meaningful. So even with very simple values, let's say it was just a 4, but here it's not the same color because it's an integer, it's a number. So it's very easier to have feedbacks from what is going on in your code. And some little tips, I encourage you to don't only say console.log. Okay, log is nice, but something I want to have an information of what kind of log I'm doing. For example, is doing information about, yeah, everything is going well, or I should do that in a Firebug. Come on. Or I think he's tired. Maybe too much debugger in the same time. So if you would have been in Firebug, here there will be a little icon saying it's information. So if I go, I think this one, this time I will have more meaningful representation. Yes, here you have a warning. So maybe I should, yeah, important warning. So, and you can also say error. Okay. And yeah, you can also a stack of what's going on, and if you have some exceptions sometime. And let's go back. Yeah. So here, effectively, you have some filters about to show only the errors, the warnings, or any logs. Cool. So it's very simple. So anyone can take advantage about such things. We're talking about breakpoints. So when you're going to the code, you will put some breakpoints saying, I want my code stopping when I'm going there or there. And what is interesting is at some point you might have breakpoints in many files. So you need a way to find out what kind of breakpoint you have put. And here you have a list of breakpoints. And what is interesting is telling you it's in this JavaScript file on this line. I really would like Firefox to come back to life, because I don't know why it doesn't want. I need to kill you. Anyway. Oops. Firebug. Okay. Come here. But I'm not sure I will be some readable JavaScript file, because it probably is minified. So just to tell what I saw before, console.info. Not anymore. Okay. Well, by the way. Yeah, so for the break, what is interesting, I will go to this page also on Firebug. It's giving you more informations. If she's okay with me. Are you a nice guy? Come on. Test, yes. Loader. Test. Okay. So let's put some breakpoints. If I go there, yeah, I have something, an additional information which is kind of interesting. Not only I have the file and the line number, but I have also the name of the function in which the code is running. So the code is defined. So here I am in say alert, or in say hello, or anyway. So yes. Not for now. Yeah, but yeah, definitely it should be very interesting to do it, and yeah, this kind of thing. What is interesting about breakpoints? Maybe you have seen this thing, debugger. So what is interesting about that is that even without having to wait all the page being loaded and the time to put some breakpoints, you can say, don't wait for me. If the debugger is activated and you meet that, you just stop. Don't wait me for putting a breakpoint. You will stop definitely. So yeah, it's another way to put breakpoints, and it's a kind of very rigid breakpoints. But I think if you say not maybe you will don't take it into account. But another very interesting tool and not very that much known is that you can where is that? No, edit breakpoint. Yes, I want to stop on this line only if, for example, e equal to 5. So I won't stop on this line each time it's running through it. So it will only stop if I have a specific context. So it's very interesting because most of the time you say, okay, it's boring, I remove this breakpoint because it's stopping every time. But you have some information about when you want to stop it. For example, you have this file which is activated in a new interface or something like that. So if you define well the context in which you want to stop, you won't be bothered by when it's not meaningful. Pop. So the steps, for those who doesn't know, so we have the classical test, which is step over. So we're going line by line, and if you have an execution of a function, so here we are defining some functions. Come on. Okay, we'll put a breakpoint here and say continue. So another option is to continue. It will continue the execution until it reaches another breakpoint. Let's go. Here we just came out of the loop. And if I continue, come on. So here is the important part. So we are calling a function. So if we do just this kind of thing, step over, it will execute the function and give back the end to continue the debugging. So it's kind of a continue until the function has been executed. If you want to know what is happening exactly into the function, instead of doing step over, you will do step into. And then you are into the function. And maybe this function is very long, and you just saw what you wanted to saw inside the function. So you can go out of the function directly, step out. But yeah, yes, there is some other breakpoint, so I stop to the breakpoints. Doesn't matter. Too much breakpoints, sorry. Then, so it was quite basic, but important to know. And then the watchers. So something very important about JavaScript is the concept of closures. The stack is after. Maybe I will talk about the stack before. Check. Come on, here. So here we are. Yes, another tip. I go here, I am stopped in the main execution context of the file, and what have I got here? Global. And I have all the standard APIs provided by the browser. So here my value E, if I want to find it, I have to scroll a lot, you know. And if I want to have a clue about what are the variables defined by myself and not the ones generated by the browser, well, I wish you good luck, because there is too much things. So here, if I want to know about what is the value of E, I could do a watcher. So here you just write any expression you want, and each time you will make a step, it will try to see which value it has. So now E has been defined, assigned a value, so you have a value for E. Okay, but still I have no idea about what has been created by me in this context. So very good practice is to say, okay, I have my JavaScript code, but maybe I should have it executing in a safer context or something I really at the end on. So what we do in JavaScript is creating a function expression which will be immediately executed. Oops. So this is a very classical pattern you will see in many JavaScript programs. So what I'm doing, just to show it easily, up, collapse, oh, on one line. So here what I have just a definition of a function. If I let it just this way, it say, okay, I'm declaring a function. But if I put the parents before, it's saying, oh, I have a parent, so I am defining an expression which will be evaluated. So it's not exactly the same. And what I'm saying is that not only it's an expression, but, oh, yeah, it's not this good thing. Yeah, not only, let's say this way, not only it's an expression, so it's a value, an object in JavaScript, a function or object in JavaScript, but I want to execute it. I want to invoke the function. So doing this, it's the result will be that any JavaScript code being inside this function will be immediately executed. So very simple. Yes, Douglas Crockford recommend to put the invocation parents inside. So most of the time you might see both versions of this pattern. So this is exactly what we did, and you will see the immediate result. For example, I come back here. Do you want to refresh, please? Okay. Oh. Come on. Oh no, I didn't update the right file, so that's the reason. Yeah, here we are. So, do you see the difference? Here we have globals, all the global APIs, and here we have the local scope, which is everything you define yourself. So this is the very first advice I will give you. Please do some scopes like that. This way you will be very easily, it will be really easier for you to understand what's going on. And another big important point is that it will prevent you from having some conflicts with other code from other script files. But let's say I may have several JavaScript files, but also several scopes inside the same file. And I may want to group some JavaScript meaningful information and executions and give them a name. So what I like to do is say, this is the main scope, for example. Yup. But yeah, I still need to. Let's see. Okay, so now this is the main execution context. So we just say we want our own execution context, and we gave it a name. So you will see it there in the call stack. And this kind of information is quite important because sometimes you will say we are in the browser, we need to make some asynchronous execution with a lot of callbacks. And most of the patterns we see out there are callbacks just given with anonymous functions. So, for example, you will have a for each method on an array, so a function will be called for each element of the array. And most of the time, you won't have any name of this for each function. And when you are looking to the call stack, or even in some different places, for example, here, you have several objects like functions which are sometimes anonymous. You're not sure what are the role of those callback elements. So giving their name is another advice I give to people. When you are doing, for example, in Wakanday, the JavaScript event handlers for the UI, by default in the pattern there is some names. So this way, even either in the call stack or I saw in other places also. But here it's a kind of announcement we could have. For example, if I go there and I say run, I come out there. Yeah. So here we are in the execution, in the context of a function inside another function. If you see there is a function which is defined inside another function. And it has not been invoked by this function itself. The internal function has been given back to someone else who just called it. So here I have the chance that Web Inspector was smart enough to know that this anonymous function has been given to sayAlert variable, so he found a name for it. But sometimes the same function, because functions are variables, objects, can be given in several contexts. For example, on several prototypes. And you don't want, it means that this function will have a different, potentially could have a different name in a different context. So it's important to have the exact identity of the function. So, and for example, a kind of filter function. You will ask this filter to be applied to some for each elements or for MapReduce, and the same filter could be used in many places and may not need the same name in this context, while it's the same function. So that's my point. Yeah, sorry, I come back here. We were talking about closures. So the concept of closures is saying an inner function, even if it has been called for outside, it has access to the variable generated outside. For example, we have the stack, so we see here we can navigate to the stack, which is very important. So this function has been called by this one, we called by this one, and so on. So I can navigate and see the different levels in which function have been called. So if I come back from the main, or here is the first invocation, the scope function. From this scope function in scope main, my write has been called. Okay. And my write, inside my write, we call this one. And then we call P. But what is P? P is a function which has been returned by say hello. So here we're back to sayAlert, which have been called through P. So you might know things that, oh, I see in the code stack a function called sayAlert, but in fact, what has been invoked is P. So here again, there is some announcement, potential announcement for debuggers, because both names are interesting for me. The name used to make the call, which is kind of the one I would expect to have here. But maybe sayAlert is still a very interesting one, and I want to have it too. So kind of a call for web debugger developers. And then, so sayAlert is inside sayHello. So here, what do we have? We have the local scope. Let's close all of that. Local scope, we have D, that's okay. We have L underscore PO. And arguments. Arguments, it's automatically generated into a function context, giving access to all the parameters. So local, this is a scope, but from this function, I can access to variable from the outside function. For example, here I'm calling update with text, and text have been defined outside. It's very easy way to provide some singleton patterns on things like that. So if I want to have an idea of the value of text, because I'm using it here, I can go to closure, and here I have the value of the outer function. And as we define a main scope, this main scope, you find it here with my level, say hello, update, and so on. And you can go through global. So, what did I want to say more? Yeah, another way to have an information about all those values is just to put the pointer on top of a value. So, when you're navigating, yeah, I don't know what, yeah, okay. So it's just taking the expression. So here you could expect to have the result, but yes, update, it's a value like any other. If you wanted to have the result of update text, you should select all this expression. No, it doesn't. This one doesn't do it. Okay. So. So the stack, we have seen that. Watch expressions also. Block, yeah. In some debuggers, you will see here you would have seen a block instead of closure. Oh, you don't have it there. You should have it. Oh, we missed one. So I will try here. Yeah. So it must be in another debugger. Sometime here you will see, so you can see local, closures, global. Sometime you will see block. Block represents a kind of scope in which there is nothing else than the function definitions, for example. Sometimes you will see that. Another call I make to web debugger developers is saying, okay, sometimes I have 5 or 6 closures. So if I want to find quickly my outside variable, it's not very easy. I have to deploy all of them, or maybe sometime I know it's the first or the second one, but it's not that easy. And closures are a reference to a specific function. So these closures represent the scope of the say hello function. So this name, again, can be very useful when you are debugging. Because here, instead of closure, I could have say hello scope or something like that, or say hello closure if you want. So that's another enhancement, potential enhancement we could see in the future of web debuggers. Okay, so we saw these tips. So don't do string concatenation in console. You can put some conditions on breakpoints. And yes, please, I don't want to force you, but for me it has be really useful to name my functions. I know I always name them. So about remote debugging. There have been many protocols written out there to provide remote debugging. One of the first have been Firebug Crossfire. And this is the one we have implemented in first place in Wakanday to debug the server-side JavaScript executed, the JavaScript code executed on the server. So in the Wakanday debugger, the one you have in the current version of Wakanday, it's a desktop kind of desktop-like interface, but in fact the interface is a web interface. And it's using, in the backend, the Firebug Crossfire protocol, a little bit extended to have some authentications. So we have also some VA debugging, WebKit. So they all did different debugging protocols. So if you want to debug on many places, you will need many different tools. So I hope that in some places we have some standard. Is the end? Okay. Okay. So okay. Okay. So I will continue a little. Yeah. So WebKit debugging protocol, it's interesting. It has been developed, designed by the Google Web Inspector developer team, but it's still for the WebKit project. While in Chrome they are using V8. They already had a protocol, but it was not good enough, so they made another one. And this one is very interesting because it's very standard base. It's using WebSockets, and the payload inside the WebSockets are JSON RPC payloads. So it's another standard. So as you have XML RPC, you have something called JSON RPC, which is quite the same, and it's just using a WebSocket connection. And it's doing it on SSL for more security, of course. So this protocol is the one we have been using in the new version of the debugger for Wakanday. So you have two possibilities in the latest versions of Wakanday. And you can now debug Wakanday server code in Web Inspector. Can have a look. Okay, let's go.